when I started third grade, it was very difficult for me. I had just changed schools again due to geographical location. You can only go to certain schools within your region, within your county lines. And so because of that, I had switched schools a couple of times. So in third grade, an event that really shaped my life was being told by my third grade teacher I was never going to learn. I was never going to make it with learning. I had difficult time learning. These were the things that she was saying to my mom. And I was sitting there because it was parent-teachers conference or one of those teacher meetings. And I was a part of that. And when you hear things like that, that definitely shapes your life and shapes the way you learn, the way you respond to certain situations. And I think that carried with me a long time. A long time it took me to shake that off. And in a sense, I have been running away from that for a lot of portion of my life. When I became a senior in high school, then the next exciting thing was, what are you going to do with your life? What do you want to be? I had no idea what I wanted to be, but I knew that success meant going to a university. And so I set out to get into a university to determine that I was successful. And that's what I did. I got accepted into the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. And I had a wonderful time there with a lot of different experiences. But I was 2 years in when it just struck me. Maybe my young life crisis happened. And I was just thinking, what am I going to do with my life? I have no idea. I've been here 2 years. I still hadn't declared a major. And I know time was running out. I'm a very schedule-oriented person. And so I knew, I should be graduating at such and such a time. This is a 4-year degree. I need to make some decisions. And, I went through my catalog. I was like, well, maybe I could be political science. I kind of like those courses at the university, and I was jiving with it. But, something still didn't sit quite right with that. I got into sign language early in my life. I got one of those free sign language books from a book fair, if y'all remember those. I don't even know if they still have them in the schools. It was like a free book, and I taught myself basic sign language. So I love that, and I was thinking maybe I would go into that route. But I was looking through the curriculum in the program, and that wasn't really jiving with me either. And finally, I think it was maybe a moment I was talking with my brother, and I was going back and forth with my best friend, and was just talking about what am I going to do? And my best friend was like, well, didn't you do all that candy striping back in the day? I mean, what about that? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I can wipe butt for a living. Because that was what I was thinking nursing was. And I said, I just don't know if I could handle, those bodily fluids that are going to be happening. I just don't know. She's like, but you invested a lot of time candy striping. And so my brother, he was kind of echoing the same thing. He was like, maybe you should do nursing. I think you'd be really good at it. You had a knack for it. And I was like, okay, well, let me just throw that in the hat. Because by then it was between nursing and teaching. I didn't know really what I wanted to do. And he said, well, if you become a nurse, then you can still teach. But if you teach, then, that's the lane that you're pretty much, that's the avenue. And I was like, okay, I like to have options. So then I went with, I think I'm going to go back. When I go back, I'm going to go and find my advisor and get on this journey of nursing. That's what I'm going to do. And that way, eventually, I can become a teacher as well. And so I still remember speaking with my advisor. I said, I think I'm ready to declare my major. I want to do nursing. And she was looking through my records and she said, well, the nursing program is very competitive. And typically these type of GPAs are what is going to get into this program. And she was very, very delicate, very appropriate, but basically she was saying there is a greater chance of hell freezing over than you getting into this nursing program. This is the caliber, of what you're up against, just the talent, the people, the GPAs, the everything. And I said, oh, okay. I was processing, and I think it was time to go out for a break. So I think that was like maybe the end of spring. And I would never forget that summer around 2003, and I was just wallowing. Like, I failed, I didn't prepare how I should have prepared, and I was just doing some supreme self-wallowing. Top notch, crying, defeated. I'm such a failure. I'm so stupid, kind of like reminding me of that Titanic scene. So stupid, Rose, so stupid. All of those things. And my brother was like, okay, so you're down on the ground, you're wallowing. What you gonna do about it? What you gonna do next? There is other plans. You can go to these community colleges and still get your, nursing degree. I was like, but that wasn't the plan. Success means a university. He was like, you need to snap out of it and start your journey. You gotta love when people in your life, when you have that person, and my brother is definitely that for me, where he's no nonsense, and so that really helps and centers me a lot. So I was like, okay, wipe my tears, get up off the ground, because literally, metaphorically and literally, that's the level of tantruming I was on, because I had definitely failed in life. However, I still wasn't sold. I still have remnants of this third grade teacher in my head, and so I'm not sure if I can still do the job of being a nurse. And I decided to take a CNA course in the summer, because you had to have that anyway to get into most of the programs, because I looked at what all the programs required. I researched that. I looked at all of the general courses that I needed to do. Luckily, my time at the university would eliminate a lot of that, and so I was basically left with CNA course and A&P. And so I took my first CNA course, because remember, at that time I was thinking, okay, being a nurse is all about wiping butt. And then when I took that CNA course, and I was in Rayford, and it really changed my mindset. I really understood what it was that I was a part of. And at that level, being a certified nursing assistant and taking that course, I was helping these patients feel better. I was washing them, something they couldn't do for themselves, or helping them to do that. It was more than what I thought it was, and it was meaningful to them. which made it meaningful work. And once I got into that, I was like, okay, this is my jam. My people do know me. They do know me almost better than I know myself. And so after that, I went further. I knew this was my journey. At the time, my pastor had passed, and I was very intrigued with how the nurses handled her care. And so all of these things were really culminating into the fact that this is my path. And so I was on it then. I went to 2 different community colleges at that time. I drove an hour away to go to complete an anatomy and physiology course, and just so I could get that finished before the next application cycle would be completed. And at the time, I was admitted into 2 different programs. One was a practical nursing program, which is roughly 18 months. And then the other one was associate degree nursing program, which is of course 24 months. And that includes a summer. And so I went back to my brother. I'm like, hey, here's my choices. This is where I am. And he said, well, the safer route would be practical nursing. At least you could go, and from his mindset, at least you could do this and start working and then go back and get your associate degree in nursing. And I weighed what he was saying, but eventually I went with associate degree nursing because I knew I was in it to win it. And I knew I could do this. I could accomplish it. And I was ready to, when I've made up my mind, I'm ready to start this journey and get it done. And that's how I am. I don't want to extend the inevitable. I want to start nursing. I want to start nursing as soon as I can. And I would get accepted into a local community college in 2004. And I would later graduate in 2006 with my associate degree in nursing. And that was a very awesome moment for me, a moment of triumph. And I had endured so much because the program was so difficult. And you had to really be very disciplined to get into it. And I think my experience away at college at UNCG really helped prepare me mentally for what was going to happen. And I'm appreciative of that time. Because you look back in your life sometimes and you're like, oh man, I wasted time. But really it was very purposeful, even though I thought nothing came of it. I thought I was a failure. It was really nothing further from the truth. It was preparing me for the new path that I was going to be on and the new adventure that I was going to have to take. And so I began to pivot my thoughts on what success really means. Success is whatever I say it is and whatever it means to me, and that it is a personal journey, and I have to stop comparing where I am to others. I would graduate in 2006 with my associate degree in nursing. After you successfully meet all the requirements to pass the nursing program, then that prepares you to take the NCLEX, and you have to pass the NCLEX to get your license to practice nursing. And so once you pass your NCLEX, then you can say that you are a nurse. And so I was able to do that, and successfully I got my license and was ready to practice nursing. And so now all I needed to do was get a job and begin the world of work that I have always dreamed I wanted to do. And I landed my first job, and I knew right away that this journey had just begun. And what have I gotten myself into?